And welcome to Lesson D of www.learnquickbooksfree.com. In this next section, we're going to be covering banking and reconciliation. We're going to be showing you different functionalities of banking, such as how to transfer funds from one account to another, and how to do reconciliation on credit cards and bank statements. So watch our videos. In this next segment, we're going to be going over the sections under banking for transferring funds and reconciling. Let's start off with transferring funds. You can use this section over here, so we're going to go over here. And this is basically a nice, easy way of entering a transaction to where you transfer funds from one account to another. So as you can see over here, I have my drop down menu, and you will see that I have the banking information that we set up, the bank accounts. We also have the credit cards. So for example, if you went ahead into the bank and you took some money from the savings account and you transferred over into your checking account, this is basically how you would record that transaction. So let's say you went ahead. As you can see in the checking account, we're at negative $918. So at this point, you're telling yourself, okay, I need some money in this account so I don't basically overdraw. So let's go ahead and transfer $2,000 from one account to the other. As you can see now, this account has $2,000 less, and if I pull up the checking account, it's got $2,000 more than it had before. So this is one way of how to transfer funds from one account to another. It doesn't have to be banking to banking. If you go ahead and, for example, have a PayPal account and you withdrew some money into your checking account, then it would be transferred funds from PayPal. We don't have that set up, but it's an example. Transfer funds into your checking account. So transfer funds is basically anytime you take money from one of your accounts into another account. This is how you would do this transaction right here. Okay, so I'm not going to record the second one. We already did the first one. So now we're going to go ahead and do reconciliations. That's under banking, reconcile. You can reconcile different things, but the main items you want to reconcile is your bank statements and your credit card statements. So let's go ahead and reconcile our checking account. Statement date is 5/31. So you have two different scenarios. Scenario number one is you opened up your bank accounts in May, which means that your beginning balance of end of April would be 0, which is fine. But let's say that you opened up your bank account before May and you opened it up in April, March, anytime before that, you most likely have some kind of balance in there. So what do you do to fix this 0? Well, there's a couple different options. So let's X out of over here. We're going to go to list. We're going to go to chart of accounts. As you can see, I already have this account set up. So if I didn't have the account set up, the correct procedure is when you do a new account under banking, you will see over here, remember we went through the screen earlier in the lessons, but the one thing I didn't show you is the enter opening balance. So let's say as end of April, you had $500. So you would have put $500 here, and you would have chose April 30th. That's one way of doing it. Now we cannot do that anymore at this point because we've already set up our accounts. So let's say I made a mistake and I went ahead and set up the account and I forgot to put my opening balance. Well, what do I do then? Okay, because you see, if you go edit over here, you can change up your opening balance this way, but this way may just be a little bit confusing. Okay? So instead of doing it this way, I'm going to show you a different way of how to do it. So we're going to X out of over here. we're going to go back to company, and we're going to go to make journal entries. Okay, let me open this up a little bit. So now we're going to say 4/31. Okay, I guess I got to do the date a little bit different. Or 4/30, that's right, there's no 31 days in April. So 4/30. And the account we want to debit is the checking account. Debit means that you're going to put money in there. Let's say we started off with $2,500. Okay? And the account you want to credit is called opening balance equity. So we're going to credit that account. We're going to hit save and close. If we go back to list, chart of accounts, as you can see, our checking account is a little bit beefier now. So if we double click on that, you will see that $2,500 deposit, or not deposit, but that opening balance or that ending balance in April that we have accounted for at this point. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to go to banking, and we're going to go back to reconcile, and we're going to go ahead and do checking. As you can see, the beginning balance is still zero. So don't be worried about that though, because when we go in there, you will see that that $2,500 is in there and accounted for. So let's say at the end of May, our balance was $3,500. Okay. Let's say we got a $2 service charge, and now you got to assign an account to it. So service charge would usually be under bank service charges. There you go. It's a checking account, so most likely you didn't earn any interest. So let's not worry about that right now. We're going to hit continue. Okay. And then you will get a screen that looks like this. Okay. And this is where you got to take a look at your bank statements and basically match every item on your bank statement to match the screen. And when everything matches, and as you match it, you're going to put a check mark right next to it. So we're definitely going to put a check mark on that opening balance or that ending balance for April, opening balance for May. Okay? And as you can see over here, it'll say that the ending balance that we put was $3,500. We cleared $2,498. There's a difference of $1,002. So now we got to figure out what cleared in May, okay, and basically try to bring this down to zero, okay. So let's go ahead and choose this check over here, okay, and let's say that this check cleared. It just brought that difference back up, okay. So let's actually uncheck that, and let's go ahead and check these two deposits. Even though this deposit shows at zero, let's double click on that and see why it shows zero. Okay, well, we can actually go ahead and delete this right here. So I did a Control D. I'm deleting it because it was probably a mistake of entering this. And this is why reconciliation is great, is you get to double check your work, you get to find mistakes, okay. And by the time you finish reconciling, everything should be exactly the way it should be. Okay. So at this point, we still have a difference of 903. Obviously, I'm making up numbers over here, so I'm not going to have a transaction of 903. But just to show you how this would work, let me make another single entry. So I'm going to go to banking. I'm going to go make deposits. I'm going to choose the checking. I want it to be sometime in May, excuse me. So let's say May 27th. And let's say that we deposited some money into our account to make that even. So I'm going to go ahead and receive from owner. And it's always going to go into that loans payable officer. And let's just say cash and amount. I'm going to put $903. I'm doing this once again on purpose just so I can show you how it reconciles. Okay, so there you go. So now we see that 903 appear. See how beautiful the system is? So you can make changes and if you missed transactions, you put them in here. And so let's say we found what was missing. We just went ahead and checked it. As you can see right now, difference is at 0. And anytime you do that, that means you have basically reconciled this month's statement. So now we're going to go ahead and hit reconcile now. But before I do that, I do want to show you a couple other features. Okay? You have this feature that's mark all. If you have a big list and you just don't want to have to mark everything and you feel that everything is within that range, so you can mark all. Obviously that's going to throw things off. You can unmark everything. At this point I'm going to go ahead and mark what I need to remark to make it back to 0. I could also do modify if the ending balance was not 3,500 and I made a mistake, it's 3,502. You can pretty much change whatever you want over here. Okay? And I'm going to go ahead at this point and hit reconcile. And there you go. At this point you have this little pop-up box that's going to come up. And it's telling you if you want to go ahead and print out reports. Do you want summary, detail, or both? I usually do both. Because they both give you two different types of information. I'm not going to print anything right now. But I'm just going to go ahead and hit close. Let's see what happens now. If I go back to banking and I go to reconcile, and I go back to that checking account, as you see over here, it's going to say last reconciled on 5/31. So now you know that the next statement date is most likely going to be 6/30. Let's say if I messed up on this reconciliation, I can actually undo it. So I'm going to go ahead and hit undo reconciliation. It's going to show me what I'm undoing, and I'm going to hit continue. I'm going to hit OK, and there you go. It just undid the reconciliation. So now I would have to go back in there and do it again, and I'm going to hit continue. I'm going to check these 3 off, which was the same 3 as last time, and as you can see, the difference is now back down to 0 again, and I'm going to re-reconcile it. No reports, and there you go, I'm done. Okay, well, now same thing with reconciling credit cards. It's pretty much no different. So let's say if we have Amex, same thing, statement date, beginning balance, ending balance. If you want to change that, I already showed you how to do that. Everything is pretty much the same. The only difference is you're reconciling a credit card instead of a bank account. That pretty much sums up the basics on how to do reconciliations. And that concludes this lesson. You can visit our website at www.learnquickbooksfree.com to watch more videos.